So in topic 2.8, what we want to address are functions that are expressed as a product. And we've already kind of looked at this just a little bit. This was back when we learned some of our basic derivative rules, like the power rule, sums and differences, constant multiples, things like that. Let's consider the function f of x equals 3x minus 1. That factor times 4x plus 2. And one of the things we said when we looked at this type of function is we said this is a product of two factors, obviously, but if I want to find its derivative, I can't just take the derivative of this factor, which by the way is 3, and multiply it times the derivative of this factor, which is 4, and say the derivative of this quadratic function is 12. So I can't just simply take the derivative of this times the derivative of this. For product rules, we're going to have just a little bit more complex rule, although it's not too terribly bad. In order to find f prime of x, what we had to do was we had to express f of x as a polynomial, because that was what we really focused on taking the derivative ofs early on, were polynomials, because the power rule works very nicely and some of the other rules. So what we had to do here in order to figure out what f prime of x was we needed to rewrite f of x. We needed to go ahead and multiply this out. So 3x times 4x is 12x squared. And then if I do the middle terms, I'm going to have minus 4x, but then also plus 6x, so that comes out to be plus 2x. And then minus 1 times 2 is minus 2. And then once I got it in that form, it was pretty easy to go ahead and take its derivative. F prime of x, well, 12x squared, 2 times 12 is going to be 24x when we reduce the power up by 1. 2x, its derivative is going to be 2. And of course, the derivative of minus 2, the derivative of any constant, is 0. And that's how we found f prime of x early on. There are going to be some functions, so then it becomes a question of how do we handle a function that's expressed as a product but can't be rewritten as a polynomial. So for example, let's just give a function g of x equals x squared times the sine of x. That is a product of two functions. It's the product of x squared times the sine of x. I can't do a polynomial expansion with that the way I did here. I'm kind of stuck just at x squared sine of x. There's no rewriting that. And so what we need now is we actually need a special rule called the product rule. And so we will use this special product rule to take g prime of x. So what we're going to do next is we'll actually work through a proof of what the product rule is so that we have an understanding of where it comes from and why it works the way it does. And then I'm going to actually take the derivative of this function using the product rule instead of this. And then we'll look at how to apply the product rule to find the derivative of g of x as well.